Okay, we just have seen the little clip about materials with you guys, but I also want to touch the subject shows and events which we're doing in this lesson, because you guys had organized an amazing show actually here in the World Fashion Center where we are doing this interview and where you have your creative studio. And I would love it. Maybe you can both tell the students about the show and also about how did you create the idea and what was like the meaning of the show.
Yeah, that's a lot of questions.
Yeah, a lot of questions. I realize. Maybe we start with
the name,
the show, the name, and
and
when it was held.
Yeah. It was the show was called Compulsory Shenanigans, and it was for the spring-summer 2018 season. And compulsory standing for kind of the pre-written rules of the fashion system, that you have to show each season, that you have to have so and so many collections in a year. Kind of what the classic, the classic fashion system asks of you as a designer. So compulsory, and shenanigans stands for, in a humorous way, cheating. So cheating around the system, but with the system. So kind of what we how we came to the idea was that we were always sort of struggling with the idea of showing, because it eats a lot of money, and it's basically impossible for young brands without big investors to do that more often than every half year, I guess. So we wanted to find a very relevant and also realizable way of presenting our work. So
because also every time we thought about doing a show, it didn't make sense just to do a show. So we came up with a reason to do a show, and that is actually to kind of give a statement about how we work in fashion.
And where you guys also stand for, because that's also what you really feel with the show. Okay.
So we wanted to kind of do a persiflage on a Chanel show. So try to get away with like pretending to be Chanel and have like lots of looks, all the best models, the right press, really expensive pieces, haute couture, exclusivity, a fragrance, the whole shebang, accessories, the whole thing. And the main focus was of course the mass. So how do you say it? It's like the amount of looks.
A lot of looks. You just want the catwalk that goes on and on and on,
and from that idea on, we decided to use that idea of to get like this 100 looks show, but to take the collection that we did, or that we were making, like always, they are always very compact collections. They are basically mostly like around 35 items only. So also for this season we did that. We made these 35 new items, and we gave ourselves the challenge and the design task actually to use those 30 pieces as the base for the 60 looks. We did in the end 60 looks. So the rest we improvised around it. So lots of times we only had one item for a look, and we had to create the rest around
fill
it.
Up. So the model was
to make it catwalk worth. So and how did you do that?
It became a kind of like I always like to say like that. It became a design method. So we kind of also in this way of cheating, we kind of gave suggestions of clothing, of looks that were not really there, but still you design it, but it's like a suggestion. So a lot of times it led to all these improvised ways.
And also this what we spoke with the materials about, it's a certain treasure hunt, I guess, that you look at things which don't appear to be very valuable, but they have a certain beauty in them. So you really just look around you and use what you can, what doesn't cost you anything. So it kind of became a big almost reorganization also of our working space, where we used everything which was what was there.
Or
so
whatever,
also like prototypes, or when
Yeah.
we make little experiments on fabric.
Yeah.
Well, everything has a certain value to it because there is also handwork going into it. So
Yeah.
we were like, okay, everything we ever made is going to be used. Either it's going to be readjusted into something new, or it's going to be used as it is, or it's going to be filled up with something we find or get from someone. So, for example, we also worked with different companies that surround us here in the World Fashion Center who have dead stock, things which get thrown away. So we collected a lot of a lot of things we could reuse as well.
And how did that add to the story of your studio, to the message you want to send? Because that's interesting. Because this show was to not only to show a product, but to show like a message where you guys stand for. What is your idea?
Yeah,
how do you
it's
see
a little
that?
bit that the relevance of fashion and this idea of this elite and this success formula. We wanted to kind of take away the smoke curtain of like fake success, and that we all have to get this standard, and that there's actually innovation in these little how do you say that, like beperkingen.
I don't know the word. Limitations.
Yeah, the limitations is actually the challenge to work with that and to create, to use it in an innovative way, and that is what fashion designers, in our opinion, need to do more.
Yeah.
And it's also about, I think, the in a way we see what we do as the search for how we can still make this intrinsic urge to create, how we can still make it relevant in the times we live in now, where actually pushing more product into this world faster and faster does not really feel very relevant anymore. But I guess with really reusing materials or bringing out certain sociological messages about how you could do things differently does give fashion a value again. And then also the question, what is fashion, or what can fashion be if it's not only a garment?
No, but that's very interesting, because this is also how I see you guys, that you also involve us, the public, whatever, how you call it, in the research for this. So it never ends. You're on your way in, but you make it important to research things, to explore it.
We really kind of...
That's actually your brand.
Yeah, but we also put ourselves in a very sensitive spot, because we actually kind of illuminate on our experiment and our struggle.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's also, that's a really interesting mindset. And if we now, because I will also show we get the clip of the show, so we can have a look at that, which is really nice to see, because you see the persiflage on the couture shows, and especially Chanel. But can you describe us what the show is about, where it was, it was in this World Fashion Center. How did you guys do that, or the elements did you have?
Yeah, because the thing is, why we did that also is to show also that there's innovation and creativity in fashion still, like we also love fashion, so we're not anti-fashion. So it's not. But to use these limitations to come up with something new, that is something that triggers us. And this whole image of the perfect collection, all this glamour and stuff, we really used that for the show. So we used also this space here to showcase the show, which is like this huge shopping mall vibe with marmor, staircases, big hollow tower where all the public was seated.
Even Sirius reacting to your story.
Sirius always talking to us.
It's
also the future.
Yeah, because this World Fashion Center where we are at, it's like a building from the 70s or 60s. and yeah, you used the hallway of one of the towers here.
Yeah.
And the elevators to
Yeah,
really
the
get
good
that.
thing is that it was the perfect setting because it has this whole, also a bit like the facade of fashion.
Yeah.
So you have all this beautiful luxury shopping, but then like when you look really at what fashion really is, and that is not there, you know, it's not present. So
No.
it's all about the coating actually. So that was perfect also for us because we wanted to have this, also show this facades in the with these
Absolutely.
collections.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the and it was also perfect because of the setting, so we could like really involve the public, so the models and the all these different looks, they came from everywhere, every angle, and the people were kind of immersed in the whole thing. So we also did a whole soundscape with the sound artist. We had like lots of collaborations also to get, of course, to this amount, to get the lights right, the choreo,
Yeah, all the elements.
all the hair, makeup.
Yeah.
It was
and
crazy.
and the setting, and we kind of knew it straight away when we had the idea of this show that we should do it there, because that's also kind of part of that treasure hunt, I guess. We always kept on passing by these lifts, and we loved it so much.
Yeah, we will see it
also,
on the clip.
Actually, there's a lot of symbolism in that location, because you have the big spiral staircase, and the spiral somehow became a sort of symbol also in our work now, which is well, it's very closely linked to the spiral or the wheel of the fashion system. But then you also had these lifts, which kind of literally shoot a designer or a model
with
to
smoke
the.
So
You could really exaggerate on the ridiculousness also of a fashion show. That was super fun to do.
But again, it was like a synergy also how you work with materials. So you don't set in stone everything. So you see also the location, and then it gave you also ideas about the show, which I think is interesting for the students also to hear that you put a certain serendipity in your work, like you are open for the suggestions that are on your path, and then work with that again. I think that's also very interesting. What I last but not least want to touch is the subject, why you guys feel that this was embraced a lot, because it was a lot of people were talking about the show in our fashion scene in Amsterdam. Why do you feel that so many people came and so many people were enthusiastic about it?
I think it has to do with a certain. Also, we just won a Dutch Design Award for this show, and what the jury panel said was that it's about a certain braveness that we show. What we said earlier, that we really expose our process and the search, how we work, or what we're looking for with what we do, in a way, and that's also in that show.
And in a way criticize the system, but in a very in a humoristic, in a light-hearted way. You know, it's not like we're looking for solutions, and I think, and we're showing maybe what's wrong or what is ridiculous about it, without actually being anti. So it's still like put the
and we're actually doing it to allow ourselves to love fashion, because we do, and we kind of are searching for a way we can allow it to ourselves to do that.
Yeah, make it relevant for us, and also to create to create something new now. You know, it's not only products; it's more the whole vision.
Yeah, it continues. Like what we just did now is, for example, that we were also fed up with Instagram as a social media output, in a way, because it has the same fastness. So we wanted to figure out a different approach of that. So what we did is we did a reversed Instagram feed. So we removed everything that we put on social media before. It faded out and it blended away, and we did all these little videos where each image disappeared in a different way, we flushed some down the toilet, we erased something literally with a big black pen, all this kind of stuff.
I have to say, this is really interesting. You know, they're weird, but they're brilliant. I love this.
And now we have a blank profile, or we have just the wheel of fashion spinning. And something.
So what's the Instagram name? What is the so we can look at that? What is the name?
So far we are still called SchuellerDeWaal.
SchuellerDeWaal. Okay.
There's not much to see.
No, that's very interesting. It gives us a lot of space. Okay, thank you guys for the story.